You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case.
We will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Dr. Idara Umoh. Idara is certified at the practitioner level with APMP. She's worked in several proposals and sales roles with multinational oil and gas and construction companies for the past 17 years. Her career has spanned between the UK and the UAE, where she has been involved in worldwide bid management, leading several winning multi-million-dollar contract wins. She has been responsible for leading commercial operations covering commercial bid preparation and technical teams, both in a centralized and country localized proposals management setting. She has also traveled vastly, facilitating staff training on proposals best practices. Idara is the author of How to Create and Maintain a Bid Content Library and the French language textbook, a name that I'm not going to attempt to say. She is fluent in both English and French. Idara holds a PhD in Business Corporate Communications from the Robert Gordon University, Aberdeen, Scotland. She is Shipley trained and APMP certified, having been one of the recipients of the inaugural APMP 40 Under 40 Awards. She was also a finalist for the Middle East Energy Awards Women of the Year 2019. Wow, that's so impressive. During her spare time, Idara, who is passionate about business communications, runs a free 5-day challenge focused on proposal writing to help business owners write better proposal submissions. She also manages a Facebook group called The Grammar Block, where she shares tips on how to communicate effectively. Oh, we'll have to check that out. Welcome, Idara, to Scribble Talk. So great to have you with us.
Thank you. So good to be on.
So, Idara, quick, what is the name of the French language textbook that you wrote?
It's called Vie de Marie.
Yeah, so I would not have said
No, you couldn't. Yeah.
That's amazing. So if you've listened to the podcast previously, you know we like to start in the beginning. So we're curious, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And where did you go to school?
Right. So I've had a good mix of part Nigeria, part England and how we come, and part Aberdeen. And Aberdeen's where I call home at the moment. So it's a melange.
Yeah, that's great. And I understand, you have both a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a PhD. Any fond memories from those degrees and schooling?
Well, just that they were really tough. I schooled mostly in Aberdeen, and I mean the masters was okay, but the PhD was obviously tougher because I worked alongside studying for the PhD, and I got married while doing the PhD. I had a child while studying and working as well, full time. So it was really tough. So fond memories, tough memories, yeah. So it was really full on, but I'm just glad I did it when I did it, and got there in the end.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that sounds quite tough. It was, I look back on school and I can't imagine doing it with all of those circumstances. So, what did you study in school?
So my first degree was in French language, and I had a mix. So I studied in France as well, at the University of Strasbourg. I studied French language and culture, and I did the master's in corporate comms and the PhD in business corporate communications at the Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, in Scotland.
Yeah, wow. So your first job after those degrees, was it in something language related?
Not really. I went straight on into proposals, funny enough. But I did the placement because we had the mandatory placement which you had to do as part of the MSc, and it was at a PR firm. And I think that was when I kind of realized, even though I really love corporate comms, I wanted to use it in a different setting. And then I found that I could use it in other settings apart from being just working at a PR firm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the first kind of role while I was studying at an oil and gas company. And that was when kind of my eyes opened up into proposals and sales and all of that. But in terms of using the language, that's obviously been used throughout my career because I've worked across multiple countries. And, obviously when I've had to do tenders or supervise tenders for Francophone countries, it comes into play, and obviously it's a valuable asset as well.
Oh my goodness. So you're one of the unicorns that went straight into bids and proposals. I love it.
I did. I went straight into it. I didn't know what it was before I went into it. But then, once I was in, interest got in, I saw how I could use the skills that I have, which is in writing, in proposals. So I kind of channeled it in that, area and used it in the role.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you talked about being able to experience, different countries. You went from, I think you said Nigeria, then to the UK. And then when did you finally make it to the Middle East?
2016. We just thought, and then we had one child. So we thought, okay, good time. And she's about to go into year one as well. We thought, good time to move.
Yeah.
And just go try. I'd never been to the Middle East. So it was kind of like someone contacted me on LinkedIn about the role, found it interesting. I decided to take the plunge. So we landed day one, having never been to the Middle East.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a culture shock from day one. The heat, everything is really different from what I was used to.
Yeah.
But really good experience so far. I mean, the past 4 years, nearly 4 years now, have been really, really eye-opening. So it's just the chance to meet people from different nationalities. Back home you're kind of boxed into similar people, which is okay. But like you get to meet people from everywhere, and for my little girl as well. Schools, you can get to meet people who are outside, what you're used to, and just working across all these multiple cultures and just a whole new experience. So it's been really good.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you get to meet a bunch of, diverse different communities there. Is the food scene pretty diverse?
It is, yeah, you'll find everything in Dubai. So I think you'd find nearly everything that you'd want here. So there's choices. All depends on what people like. So.
Oh, that's very cool. So it sounds like you have been on some very large and very complex proposal efforts. Do you have any fond memories of a proposal effort, or maybe even not a fond memory, any memorable proposals that stand out to you?
Well, yes, I have a few. I've worked on quite a few proposals. I would say the one that was won recently for an operator in Iraq. I think it was just the timing as well for the company. It was such a big win. It was millions of dollars. It was for a big operator in Iraq. And I think what stood out was because we're getting so close to the deadline, and this commercial specialist was working on this proposal. It was multi-package, so we had everyone, it wasn't just one business line. It was kind of working through multiple business lines. So trying to coordinate this thing. And then I said, okay, I'll have the review just to see how things are going on. And then I had a look and I was like, oh my goodness. Everything. And I think that's the danger as well when, you have multiple people feeding into proposals. You get different tones, you get different languages, there's errors and so on. And just making it read like a proposal. But then this is saying 2,000 pages of proposal document or more. So it was full on. It was a lot of work that I had to personally focus on doing. But for me, the icing on the cake is always when we win the work. And then you kind of forget everything else and all the stress and all the late nights and all of that. So that really stood out for me, and that was quite recent. I don't want to get into names and all that, but yes.
Yeah.
It was a huge thing for the company.
Oh, those big ones really do stand with you, don't they?
And then you have the smaller ones as well that just, you know, you need to win, not for the value, but just for the relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's multiple, there's been multiple experiences, but yeah, like I said, some stand out, and that was one that has been quite recent and really stood out for the impact and how much I contributed as well to the success of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds so great. We talked about some of your achievements in your introduction this just a few minutes ago. Can you talk about some of the key achievements that maybe you're most proud of so far?
Well, I'm probably one that's not too good at remembering all my achievements. I always have my husband reminding me all the time. So I'd say one of the key things for me was I wrote the French book when I was about 20.
Wow.
For me, that was kind of like, oh, wow. So it's so easy-ish to write a book. And I like to write, and it was really good. It was a big achievement for me at the time. And also since then, I've gone on to get the Under 40 award. I've gone on to be a finalist for the Middle East Woman of the Year, Energy Woman of the Year award, which was really fantastic. Came out from nowhere. And I've also gone on to write the book about the content libraries I've managed. The number of people I've managed recently across the countries, you know, being able to train up the teams and bring them up to standard. It's been amazing. So there's been various achievements in professionally and otherwise. So yeah, so I'll just focus on the professional side of things, which I've said already.
Yeah, no, that's so great. So before we dig a little bit more into maybe some APMP stuff and some more about your career, can you tell us 3 things that not many people know about you?
3 things. I like to play badminton.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people know that because I just play with the family. But yes, I like to. I write a lot of poetry as well.
Oh, yeah.
Most people don't know that. So I spend a lot of time kind of writing loads, hidden somewhere safe.
Yeah. What language do you write your poetry in?
English.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
You would think sometimes maybe French. Yeah.
That comes first to me. That's actually something to think about because I've written a few things in French, but primarily it's been in English.
Yeah.
And what's the third thing? Maybe because I love red. Just random. But yes, I love the color red.
Oh, it's a great color.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your Facebook group, the Grammar Block?
Right. So a couple of years ago, I do not like it when I see texts that haven't got punctuations, that got the wrong spelling. And I mean, anyone that's worked with me in any of my proposal themes knows that they will tell you that there's no way I'm letting my proposals go in with bad grammar, wrong format. I'm really picky like that. So
yeah.
it comes naturally to me. I think I'm a natural editor as well. Like once I see a text, I'm looking for fault. It's probably bad, but that's me. And that's one of my strongest points and strongest assets as well. So I thought, so how can I help people and bring value and support people and so on? So I started the Grammar Block group on Facebook, and so in the group I post quizzes, I post tips, I post anything that just helps to improve the English grammar. So that's where, and people have a chance as well to, they can ask questions if they want, they can ask if they have queries about grammar, they can ask that as well. So yes, it's been really rewarding. Sometimes it's a lot because I have so much going on as well. But then you get a comment from someone saying, this really helped me and so on, and then it kind of motivates me to go back to doing it. So it's been rewarding. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like a really great resource for people to check out.
I hope so.
Well, let's dig a little bit more into you talked a little bit about your French book. Let's talk a little bit about your how to create and maintain a bid content library. What inspired you to write that book? And can you share maybe some of the top 3 tips that you present in there?
Yeah, so at the company that I worked for, quite recently, I had to revamp the whole content library. And that was, trying to get all the info into one place and trying to make sure that the information is correct, up to date, and trying to, collate these resources from various people. And obviously a global company, so there's people located everywhere, and trying to organize all these meetings. I just brought me to the fact that every time you see proposals come out or go out to the client, half of the time people just use the same old ones and just reuse them and reuse them and reuse them. Mm-hmm. And even though they have content libraries, some people don't spend time to actually update them and just make sure they're correct and just try to find ways to improve the content that they have. Mm-hmm. And so if they sent a proposal to client A before, they just kind of revamp the same one and use it again. So I thought, okay, based on the experience that I've had and, having tried to do one myself, I'd write a book that gives people tips and kind of gives a step-by-step process on how, how straightforward it can be if it's planned properly to create a bid content library, which obviously needs to be reused, and what's it called, updated regularly for it to make sense to the users.
Oh yeah, so absolutely.
So the 3 tips, main one would probably just be stay organized, so know who the main contributors are. So, not everyone can just feed into the bid library, otherwise it becomes chaotic. So who's the main person who would give info for, who would be the manager, the content manager of the bid library is key to identify that one person. And they can actually build the library, be the lead to build the library from the start, or be the ones to manage it, but they need to be involved in the process so they understand what the content library should be or what it needs to look like. Mm-hmm. And the other thing would be have a plan, because not one individual can do a bid library. You need to make sure that everyone that's involved in the bid process has a say, because they know what they need in the in the content library. They know what they use often and so on. So just make sure everyone's included. Well, not everyone, but the key people are included, so they know, what needs to go in, and get buy-in as well from whoever needs to approve. Because what I found as well was that if you get buy-in from the top, it's easier to get people to work with you to make this happen, especially when you're working for a bigger company where there's loads. I mean, as I said previously, people are everywhere, and trying to get them to sit with you for a few minutes just to tell them what you need for the library can be really, really tasking. So if you get buy-in from the get-go, then it just makes it a lot easier for the whole process to flow through. But obviously, if anyone wants to know more, my book's available for tips.
Absolutely. It sounds like a really great resource, and particularly for maybe those smaller organizations looking to set that up, it would be really great. And even those larger ones looking to kind of, revamp and remanage what they currently have.
Correct. Yeah.
So we also talked a little bit about, or we highlighted this 5-day free proposals content winning challenge that you have. What inspired you to generate that? And can you tell us a little bit more about that initiative?
Yes. So, we all know what's happening at the moment. There's so many people out of work. And apart from the fact that there's, the standard of proposals that I've seen as well, the quality sometimes would make you want to cry. So I thought about how to, I know it's free, but how do I add value to these people who really want to submit good proposals but just don't have a clue what to do? And I thought about, okay, that I could do this free 5-day challenge now that people are home and people are, some people are trying to look for work. They probably have more time as well. and add value at the same time. So what I've done, I mean, I have one running this week, and start today, and the last one was really good. So what I've done through the 5 days is every day I give the task in the morning and let people kind of think about, who is the client, what do they offer? And I mean, it's the same for even when when someone works in a larger company, who are you bidding to? Because half of the time, because you're so lost in the big companies, we just feel, okay, we're bidding to this client, okay, same old. But sometimes we need to sit back and think about, who is this client? What's the need? What's the roadblock? How do we meet this needs with the products and services that we have? How do we respond to this ITC they've sent out? Trying to understand the mind of the clients a little bit just makes it a lot easier to respond strategically as well in the bid response. So I run them through things like that, so just to make them think and gain more clarity as well. And then you'd have, I had someone say today, oh, my target client is a writer, and I said, what do you mean by a writer? There's loads of writers, there's different types of writers. What kind of writer are you targeting? Because till you get to the point where you can say, okay, I'm targeting business writers, or I'm targeting technical writers, you cannot understand or know how to respond properly to your client. So it's just making people think further than just throwing proposals around for unsolicited requests or even solicited ones, and making them at the end of the week feel confident to prepare a proposal and go out and try to win work. From the feedback I had during the first one, that kind of motivated me to do the second one.
Yeah.
Because I had over 300 people sign up.
Oh my gosh.
And I think, yes, and the first one. So it was really, really, really impressive and encouraging. And I feel really happy that I've added some kind of value based on the feedback from people that attended. So it's really good.
Oh, absolutely. So it sounds like you're really helping those individuals who attend this challenge to really think about the customer, really make their content more compelling for that customer, because it's addressing kind of maybe what their hot buttons or needs might be by kind of getting that understanding of what makes them tick. Correct.
Yeah. And I get them to look at things like, the cover letter, the executive summary as well. I mean, some of them they've never understood what the difference is between the cover letter and the exec summary and what to put in each, because people kind of mix it up all the time and use the exec summary for the cover letter and the other way around. And just getting people to have more clarity around those areas and what to include and how they can sell themselves, using this part of the proposal. So yes, these are kind of the key things they need to really, think about and crack on and really get a proposal ready that can get them in front of the client.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a really great session. So you also went through some APMP certifications. Can you tell us a little bit about your APMP certification journey?
Yes, well, I got the foundation level a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2015. And then I went on to get I keep mixing up the practitioner and the professional. The professional is the highest one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mix them up as well. They're so similar in name, right?
Exactly. And I went on to get the practitioner last year. I've been struggling with the professional, and I've never really struggled with any kind of exam before. So it just shows how tough it is. It's not easy to pass.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get that done. I mean, I've had so many things come along and kind of distract me a little bit, but my focus and goal is to get the professional done, hopefully in the next month or two.
Oh, wow.
And just get that, out of the way.
Yeah.
Yes, well, it's been interesting because I can't remember how I came across APMP, but it was just randomly. And I remember taking the first, the foundation level exam as well. And I just went home one night after work and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I went, so there was no practice, nothing. And I went and managed to pass the foundation level. And then I was like, okay, you know, it took a couple more years, but then I decided to go on to do to get more involved. But involved in the sense that I attend the webinars and so on. And then I decided to go one step further to get the practitioner, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, I will get the professional as well. And know that's done. Because I'm kind of at the point where I think I like to learn, but you know, it's tasking when you have to write, you know, exams and all of that. It's kind of something that I would like to leave behind a little bit.
Oh, with all the school you've gone through, yeah, understandable.
So hopefully that gets done this year, and I can get that level of certification. But it's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. So also among all of that and all these other things you've achieved, you received the 40 Under 40 award. Can you tell me a little bit about what that meant for you?
It was really, really good. I was in the Middle East. I just moved to the Middle East at the time. And it was kind of, I mean, sometimes you know that you can do stuff, you know you're like what you're capable of doing. But some validation is always good. And I know it's just like studying. People say, oh, you don't really need a degree to do stuff and so on. Yes, you don't need, maybe you don't need it. But then at the same time, just like getting an APMP certification, it just helps validate the experience that you have. And you can shoot and say, okay, yes, I mean, I know how to do this and I have something to prove. And I have a proof of what, you know, my abilities. So that was kind of that for me. It was kind of validating the experiences and all of that I've had so far in my career. I was really excited, especially because it was the first one as well. So yes, it was awesome to have that award.
Oh, for sure. And then on top of all of that, you were a finalist for this Middle East Energy Woman of the Year 2019. And you said that was kind of a surprise?
It was. I was home one evening and then one of my managers sent me an email and said, or sent me a message actually and said, oh, you didn't say you've been, you're the finalist. And I'm like, finalist for what? And then I checked my email and the company actually sent us an email to everyone about the fact I was a finalist. And then I was like, huh? You know, I didn't know anything about it till I got that text message from my manager.
Oh
so
my
that was
gosh.
super exciting. And I missed everything because I had already planned a trip out of Dubai. I had a training to do in, I think it was Russia I went to at the time. So, and so everything was already booked. I had no idea what was going on. So there was nothing I could do about it. So I missed the event and all of that. But then, I mean, just getting that recognition in the Middle East as well, you know, was really, really rewarding, really, promising.
Yeah.
You know, and just the fact that, you know, amongst the many highly experienced women in the Middle East, in the oil and gas sector, in the energy sector, I could be identified as one that could go on to be the finalist was really, really an impressive thing for me.
Oh, absolutely. All of your achievements at such a young age are so impressive and so inspiring to particularly those younger listeners. So it's so exciting to have you on here. So I think that's a great segue into kind of our more lighthearted surprise rapid fire questions round.
Nice.
Idara, how often do you play badminton?
Nearly every day, actually. I think because everyone in the family we love to play badminton. So, and we play everywhere. So we don't have to be outside to play. We play in the rooms. So we just kind of enjoy ourselves. So we're not too serious about it, but we just make sure we have the shuttle going back and forth.
And from which age are you playing this, Idara?
It must have been about 18. So I didn't play when I was younger. It was when I was in my teens that I just picked it up. I played more table tennis when I was younger, and I love to play football as well. So I did a lot of that when I was younger, but then I started playing badminton when I was a lot older in my teens.
Got you. And how many dress do you have in the color red?
Oh, that's funny. I do one. That's quite funny because I love red, but I probably have more red shoes because I'm into shoes.
Got you. Got you. That's interesting. I think, and I'm sure, because in Dubai, I think it's normally hot, right? Otherwise, you might have an overcoat on in red as well.
Exactly. It is hot, so it's more lighter dresses. So yeah.
Got you. If you could visit any place in the world, where would you choose to go and why?
I've always wanted to go to a place called Tahiti.
Mhm.
And that's been since when I was younger. I used to say I'd have my honeymoon in Tahiti, but that never happened. But yes, and I think it's just the blue sea, and it just looks really peaceful and calm. And I hope one day to visit, but so far I haven't been. But it is a place that I really want to visit once in my lifetime.
Got you. So what questions are you really tired of people asking you?
Uh, Well, okay, I'll use one as professional. So every time people say, "Oh, but you studied corporate comms, and why are you doing proposals?" And I get that all the time, and I try to make people understand the fact that, I mean, what is proposals? I mean, a big part of proposals is being able to communicate your offer to your client in a way that they understand and want to buy from you. So the skill set that I got from studying corporate comms have also obviously been majorly transferable to the proposals function. And I've seen that I've had to, draw it from loads of the things that I learned. That includes even the way to speak to people, working across different cultures, and like what you asked before, being able to work across, and school across all these different cultures. That was a big part of my learning as well, across different languages. That exposure that I had while learning has obviously helped me in the proposals function. So yes, people ask that all the time, and I try to explain that they forget about the name, think about what skills I had to learn and what I actually learned in the process of studying for the degree.
Thank God we didn't have that question for you, Idara.
Yes, thank you.
No, if any of the listeners, if you reach Idara, please don't ask her. It really makes her angry.
Please do not. I'm tired of it.
So, what trait do you really like the most about yourself?
I would say my editing skills. I like the fact that I can I'd say just two in one. So I like to edit and I read really quickly. So if I'm reading a page of document, I will be done in seconds. So my husband doesn't really like to read through any document with me, because by the time he's starting off, I'm already at the end. And I like the fact that I'm able to look through documents really quickly. And that's helped as well in my proposals function, because sometimes the ITTs are really huge. There's multiple pages, and the fact that I'm able to read really, really, really quickly helps me get through, things faster. And even when I'm trying to review documents that other people have written, it's just a little bit quicker for me to do that than maybe someone else.
Got you. Do you have any tips or any suggestions how you can read quickly?
I think you just have the gift or you don't. Apart from that, I'd say just read. I've always been a keen reader right from when I was younger, and I think that's kind of how it translates into the writing as well, because I read and write. And it's just the same thing I'd say for people who ask, how can I be a better writer? I'm like, you need to be a better reader for you to be a better writer. So it kind of ties in. So if you want to learn how to read really quickly, then just keep reading, and hopefully your skills improve.
Got you. What's the weirdest thing you have ever eaten?
The weirdest thing. I had dumplings when I went to China in December. I don't think I was really keen. I wouldn't say it was weird, but I just didn't really like the taste of it.
Got you. I can eat dumplings all day, every day, but that's
Really? It had different toppings and different colors as well. It looked really cute, you know, but I don't know, not one for me.
Got you. If you could eat only 3 foods for the rest of your life, what 3 foods would you eat?
Right. I love fish.
Mm.
So I'd have fish, I'd have rice, and almonds. Does almond count like as a food? Nuts.
Got you. And you did mention you do write poetry. Is there any poetry that you have on top of your head that you could maybe say a few words?
No, I'm not one for memorizing my poetry, unfortunately. Fortunately. I write them down, but I'm not able to kind of, come up with them like that. I need to read them out. Because half of the time when I'm writing them, I write them from a really deep space and they're lengthy as well. But no. Okay, well, someday I hope to publish my poetry.
Yes.
So I will let you know when it's out, when I get around to it. Well, I have a good collection. There's quite a few of them, actually, probably too many.
Now that's beautiful. And is there any place in website or anywhere that you have posted your poetry? Maybe we could add that link part of the podcast.
Yes, I mean, there's some on Instagram. I have a few lines on Instagram of some of my poetry. When I started a few years ago, I used to put them on Instagram, but then I stopped and kind of moved my Instagram a little bit away from personal to more professional. But yes, I can post a link later on.
That's brilliant. It looks like you have a multi-talent. From badminton, from proposals to poetry to writing about proposals as a book, running workshops.
Yeah.
Continuing what you're doing. Looks like you are in search of something, and I just want to wish you get to the journey all the time. It's beautiful. Definitely continue the journey.
Thank you. Yes, I'm just, trying to add as much value as possible and, I'm trying to make use of all the skills that I have so there's none really lacking. So I'm just trying to kind of, okay, I have the skill set, I'll use it, to do something valuable. So, yes.
Do you have any nicknames?
Ideal.
Ideal?
Yes. So they kind of, it's kind of the IDYLL. Then IDY. That's about it.
Got you. And who calls you that?
Friends, probably friends just from growing up. I think I used to use that a lot when I tried to, like when you're growing up and you have to try and, find nice short forms or nicknames for yourself. And I wasn't really good at coming up with really exciting names of the nerdy student. So, so mine wasn't that much fun. And then that just kind of stopped throughout. So people still call me that.
Yes. So what is the naughtiest thing you have ever done in your school?
What is the naughtiest thing? I can't really think of, and I know I'm quite a good student. Well, I was. I kind of like to abide by the rules, and I see that in my little girl as well. But I like to kind of stick by the rules and not get into trouble. And I'm more focused because I went into school really young. I mean, I started uni when I was 15, my first degree. So I was really young. So my focus was on studying. So I didn't do much extracurricular activities in terms of like going partying or anything like that. I was kind of stuck and focused on getting excellent results in my degree. So I can't really think of, anything significant that I did was really, naughty.
Got you. I can
But
see.
I must have done something, but I just can't think of it at the moment.
Yes. So when you're having a bad day, what do you do to make yourself feel better?
Well, I like to read.
Mm.
Key things I like to do is reading and writing or spending time with my family. So it depends on who's making me upset. so, so if it's too much from the kids or something, or if it's too much from work, I like to go and spend time with the family. If it's too much from the family, then I probably just go into my quiet space and write something or read something. So
That's brilliant.
that cheers me up. Oh, I go running. I like to run as well. So sometimes I just up and go running for a bit. So I did the marathon last year. So, oh, that was one of my achievements. I should have said that. I did my first marathon last year.
Wow, that's pretty intense, though. It's amazing. So, where did you do the marathon in Dubai?
Yes, it was in Dubai. I only did the 10K, but for me, 10K was huge. I didn't even think I could do it, but I got there in the end and I had a good time. So it was quite an experience. But the weather's cooler when the marathon happens, so it's not so hot.
Got you. I was about to ask you that. That's great. And what random stranger has had the biggest impact on your life?
Biggest impact. Well, I don't know if to call it, I had someone hire me into a company in 2015. I'm not going to go into names, but she took me into the company and she literally fought to get me into the company. And she kind of stayed on as a mentor throughout. Like she fought to get me back into the company again a couple of years down the line. So she was a stranger when I met her, obviously. But I mean, afterwards, and having worked with her and so on, she's moved from being a stranger to more of a friend. But yes, it was just like, someone who doesn't know you from anywhere, just standing up and trying to make sure that you get to where you dream to be. So that was significant. And she's always stood out as the best manager that I've had so far. I actually can mention the name if you want me to.
No, that's okay. I think I'm sure she will know when she.
Oh, yeah, she will know.
So, who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
So, in my career, I'd say it's the same. The manager that I mentioned earlier on, the female one, she had a significant impact in, me moving to the next level. So she's definitely the most influential for me in that sector. In my family, on the other side of my family, I mean, they have a lot of it. I mean, the work that I do sometimes involves me working nonstop, late nights and, weekends and so on. So just having that support is really critical.
Got you. And who in your life has survived something difficult? And how do you feel when you think about the fact that they are still here?
Oh, well, I'd say my brother, because he survived. Well, yeah, well, he survived being kidnapped.
What?
Yes. He'd gone back to visit, and I think he was in a car parked and waiting for somebody, but then I think he was lucky as well because he's trained. He's a trained special force official, what they call Secret Service agent. But then it was a random evening when he wasn't at work or anything, and he was in the car waiting for somebody. And before he knew it, somebody was trying to open the door, and then like 3 or 4 guys came in on him and, tried to, kidnap him. He ran, they tried to catch him. They caught him actually. What saved him is the car key has the alarm. So the car has the alarm where you can trigger if there's something wrong. So he pressed the trigger, and that kind of sent a message to my other brother to say there's something wrong. and he just kind of guessed this was not normal and called the police or what they called, the armed whatever. So they came, and that's how the guys ran away, and he managed to be rescued. Yes, it sounds like a movie, but yes, it did happen to my elder brother. But luckily he's here, but he had wounds because he'd been beaten with loads of things. So he had like a wound on his head and all of that. But he survived that. So I'm really grateful to have him here still. He's going to be 40 next month.
Oh, wow.
So that's really cool.
And it happened in Dubai, is it?
No, it didn't happen in Nigeria.
Oh, okay, got you. Wow. So
Yeah.
I'm pleased to pass our wishes to him, and upcoming birthday wishes to your brother.
Right, thank you. Glad to have him here, actually. You know, the things you don't think about till someone asks you, because I've not thought about that in a while. Now you've asked me, I'm kind of like, oh yes, you know, you think about the things. So.
Got you. So who's the kindest person you know?
Oh, I'd say my little girl. So I've got two daughters, and one's probably going to be really jealous, but both of them are really kind, but one's kinder than the other one. But then the younger one's 2, going on 3, and the other one's 9. So, you know, it's hard to compare. So yes, I'd say, okay, to be fair, I'll say both of them are really kind to my little girls.
Slightly more kindest. Yes, I have this problem at home as well. That's great. So if I ask the 2 little girls for reference about mommy, what do you think they will tell about you?
They'll say I work too much. I think they complain too much about me having to, you know, I'm always on the computer and I'm on the phone. And then they're saying, why are you on the phone all the time? Because I think they always assume that once you're on the phone, you're maybe doing Facebook or you're doing, you know, but I'm on the phone and I'm probably doing something else. And I write a lot on the phone as well, because it's handy. So, you know, they was like, okay, you're always busy, you're always busy, you're always busy. And while I try to spend as much time, sometimes you have to sit back and realize, I have to sit back and realize that maybe not spending as much time as I should, and they're growing up so quickly. So.
Got you. So what's the biggest lesson life has taught you?
To take one day at a time. Sometimes we worry and fuss about things that we don't know, we don't even have any control over. And I've realized that half of the time when I worry too much about things, it maybe doesn't even happen the way I thought it would, or, you know, it doesn't even happen at all. So I've kind of, over the years, just let things happen the way it should. And there are a lot of things that you have. I mean, who would have thought this year we would all be home, and, you know, so. And then, you know, people probably spend the last year worrying about what's going to happen this year or even last month. So for me, it's kind of one day at a time. Plan ahead, but don't worry too much about it.
That's brilliant. So what have you observed lately that reminded you that people are good?
I mean, when I go onto LinkedIn, there's loads of people offering to help, you know, which is fantastic. I mean, people are using their time to do CVs with people, doing trainings, doing, you know, offering coaching. You know, it's amazing to see other people just stand up to help others when they're really down. And there's loads of people down at the moment. So that just is a reminder. I mean, I had somebody as well who I'd known from nowhere. You know, we connected and, you know, helped me share my challenge, offered to have a look at the book that rated and just send me reviews. You know, you find such random acts of kindness, and it's really good. And I believe it's just what you sow as well. When you know, pay it forward, it comes to you. When you're kind to other people, you know, kindness comes to you. So it's just the way it's worked, and I've seen it work in my life as well.
Perfect. Last question from me. What's one kind or thoughtful thing someone did to you recently?
Well, someone helped me book excess luggage yesterday. It's random, But then that meant so much to me because I had so much to take. And I was, well, see about a bit worried. I was worried about, not being able to take the things I had to take and all of that, and excess luggage and so on. And they managed to sort out that problem and solve it for me. And, they didn't have to, but they did. So that was a kind thing that someone did for me just yesterday.
That's brilliant, Idara, brilliant. So last few questions from Ashley.
All right, Idara, it's been so amazing learning a little bit more about you and hearing about all of your accomplishments and what you're doing for others. So far, I know you're still quite young, but you've had an amazing career so far. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I would say having someone who has your back. So when we go into companies and when you're a lot younger, you go in and you're just keen to do the work. But I've noticed that if you don't have, the right one is a sponsor. So if you don't have a sponsor from the top, it's really hard for you to move on to get to where you need to get to. You need to, when you go into a company, identify somebody who is in the, look at where you plan to progress to in the company and look for someone who is higher up and has a say in that area that can help guide you to get into where you want to get to within the company. Now, if you're not able to get to somebody who is directly in the line of where you want to get to, maybe someone else, but make sure it's somebody who has a say, who people listen to, who can make effective change. Because it's something I didn't know earlier on, but as I've grown, obviously, in my career, I've realized that if you don't have a sponsor, you could be working so hard and doing things and, doing amazing things, but you probably wouldn't get noticed. And even if you get noticed, someone with a sponsor would probably have a higher chance, because when the chips are down and the doors are closed, who is speaking up for you? And if there's nobody having your back, then the chances that you're not going to go to where you want to go.
Yeah, that's definitely, great advice. Sometimes I call that individual like your champion within the organization, right? Someone who recognizes your value and is going to help you grow and progress.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure you talked about, a very influential manager and some people who have given you some advice over the years. What's the best piece of advice you've received and who gave it to you?
I'd say one from my dad, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not really a work, but from my dad. And it was kind of about regarding money and maybe giving things to people, because it was more like, if someone comes to you and says, can I have £100, for instance, before you give it out, make sure that you wouldn't miss it if you don't return it to you. Okay, because half of the time what happens is, and I explain just to make it clear, someone could come in, one of your friends, and just say, oh, I'm really broke, can I have £100? And then weeks later, they haven't returned the money. You ask and ask and ask, and then because of that, the friendship gets sour, and then, everyone falls out, and that's the end of it. But then he said, if you give the £100, just make sure that if they don't return it, it wouldn't be an issue to you. So you wouldn't miss it. It wouldn't cause a rift between you and your friend. So be smart about borrowing or lending money out to people. Not borrowing, lending money out to people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's great advice. And so, we'll kind of conclude this. We've looked at what you've done so far and all the things you've achieved. What's next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future?
I mean, there's loads. This time's actually been where I've sat back and I've kind of thought about the fact that last year was full. I was traveling, I think, every month or every other month, and it was full on. And, I'd come back knackered, and, and like I said earlier on, the kids are growing so quickly. And I'm thinking, what do I want? I want to have more time for the family now that the kids are so young. So, I've had a lot of thoughts into what I want to do. I really can go into the next steps but it'll be more doing my own consultancy type, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just because I know I have the skill set, I know I'm able to deliver, I can self-manage and all that, so, and I can add a lot of value, but then how do I mix this around family? And they've had to bear the brunt from, you know, from the get-go. My daughter was born into proposals and a PhD.
Yeah.
I think working from home as well is going to be an eye-opener for a lot of people, because you find out how much more you can achieve working from home or just from your personal space. So I think there's great things. There's more. I still feel like I haven't even started achieving what I need to achieve. There's so much more, and I really do not box myself into any size of a box. I explore every opportunity that's available and try to make the best of it. So there's more ahead, and I'll just take every day as it comes and see what's ahead.
Oh, it sounds like so many exciting things are on the horizon for you. So looking forward to watching you grow and do great things.
Thank you.
Hey, Idara, is there any part of your life or career that we haven't touched and maybe we could spend the last 1 or 2 minutes on?
I think you've touched around most of it. So we've done work, we've done, you know, the Facebook groups, the books. I'm writing another book at the moment, actually. So yeah, I think most of it's been covered, really. We've touched a bit of my family. You probably heard too much about my girls. So yes, I think we've kind of covered everything.
That's brilliant to know, Idara. So thank you so much for joining us at Scribble Talk. It's been a privilege to have you with us at Scribble Talk. I think you are the first guest from Middle East, if I'm correct, or you know, UK maybe third, but Middle East you are the very first one. So let's stick with Middle East.
That's fantastic. I like to be the first.
It's a great privilege.
Right, it's been a pleasure to speak to both of you. It's really been exciting, and you've made me think, which is really good. So I've had a lovely evening speaking to you both. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Idara. So stay safe, stay healthy, and keep inspiring. Look after yourself.
All right, you as well, and you, Ashley. Take care and stay safe.
Oh, thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit bachuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Pastor Sundram,
signing off.